Hello everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. Today I am continuing my series of reviews by taking a look back at Countdown number 48. Countdown, known as Countdown to Final Crisis for its last 24 issues, was a comic book limited series published by DC Comics. It debuted on May 9th, 2007, and since this is a countdown, the story order for the numbering is backwards. So you start with issue 51 and count down to issue number 1. So issue 48 here is written by Paul Dini and Adam Beecher, with pencils by David Lopez and inks by Don Hillman, and colors by Tom Cho. Now the cover is by Andy Kubert and Moose Bauman. Now the cover itself I think is really cool. I like it a lot, especially as a Superman fan. It's got a lot of, well, it really conveys a lot of emotion, along with the title there of the issue, Death of a New God. So I like this a lot better than the previous issue, and it's got some really cool, just basic things about art, like the centering of it, you know. Superman is centered perfectly. There's the sun behind, well, the light source behind him, and I really like how his cape is glowing behind him, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but the guy in the crater in front of him is also in the very center. So I think it's really cool. And there's actually Jimmy Olsen kind of crouched down in the background too. You may or may not be able to see him. So starting off on the first page here. Oh yeah, and the storyline is really linear. So if you haven't been following along, I would recommend reading or watching the previous issues. So I have links to the reviews for the previous issues in the description box. So we start off here on the first page with Mary Marvel, and where we left off last time, she had just run into this abandoned building and ran into Black Adam, and she doesn't have her powers. So Black Adam essentially confronts her, and she's talking about the horrors of all the people that he killed and stuff, and he smashes this pillar and said, "You dare to judge me?" And then she's like, I found you by accident. I haven't come here to judge you. I think maybe I was sent here somehow for help." And he just looks at her and says, "Help? Where is your brother? Where is Captain Marvel?" And she says she's been looking for him and she can't find him. So she tells him about how she's powerless and that he isn't alone because his powers make him strong. And he throws back his head and laughs. He thinks that's really funny. So I like that panel right there too. I think he looks pretty cool. So he says, "Do you think this is some kind of a joke?" And we jump to another scene, and it wasn't Black Adam who said, "Do you think this is a joke?" It was Perry White. So we're at the Daily Planet, and Perry White is chewing out Jimmy Olsen because he returned from Arkham, as you saw in the previous issue, but he was interviewing the Joker and he didn't get much useful information, so he came back and Perry's mad at him. But then they see a crash outside, and then we get this crates full page splash page. Looks really awesome, and you see all these things coming down out of the sky and crashing into Metropolis, and we get the title of the issue up there, Death from Above, and the credits for everybody in the bottom right corner, which I find to be really cool. I always check to see if they have that on. Often comics will do this format where they have a big splash page a couple pages in with the credits, and I really like that. And it always lists more people. I usually mention the artist and the writer and the colorist and maybe another person or two, but this lists the letterer and the associate editor and the editor as well. So that's really neat. And go to the next page, and Perry White is yelling to Olsen to get down there and see what's going on, but he's already down there, and he signals Superman with his watch when he gets there. So he's out there on the sidewalk and he sees something flying out of the sky, and it's going to hit these civilians in front of him. So we go to the next page, which it's one thing with this comic is it changes scenes a lot. So the Teen Titans here are at a graveyard and they're mourning Duella Dent, who was a Teen Titan for a little while, and she was Joker's daughter, and she was killed in the very first issue. So Jason Todd shows up and starts talking to her and tells her his theory based on what the monitors had said when one of them killed Duella, about how they were on Earths they weren't supposed to be on, so he's figured out that he and probably Donna, Troy, are on planets they aren't supposed to be on. So that's pretty interesting. Then we go to the next page, and we're catching up with Karate Kid. He's still imprisoned on the JLA satellite. They haven't let him out yet. So he's talking to Starman, who is essentially one of his cohorts. So he's trying to get some information, but Starman's kind of crazy, so it isn't making much sense right now. And then we're back to Black Adam and Mary Marvel, and he's finally stopping laughing. And Mary says, "Did I say something funny?" And he says, "When I think of what my power has brought me, no, that is not correct. When I think of what my power has cost me." And she says, "They're not a curse. They're a gift. I wish I..." And he says, "You wish? Make no mistake. Just as these fools asked for death by coming here, so do you ask for it by the request you make." And we go to the next page, and Jimmy Olsen is on the street there, and he sees all these things falling out of the sky about to hit these people, and he runs and grabs them and moves them out of the way. And they say, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" And he's like, "I don't know." So we hear something is falling, and we get another full page splash page, and this is really terrific. So as you can see, something else flew out of the sky and slammed into the ground, and is a much bigger explosion than before, with the cars and buses and everything flying. So Jimmy is there still, and he's now by the crater, and he sees it is the new god, Light Ray, who is in the crater. He's who crashed Earth. And there's a subplot about how Jimmy Olsen appears to have superpowers, and we saw that in the last issue where he had similar powers to Plastic Man, and in this issue he just moved with super speed and saved those people, and he wasn't hurt when this Light Ray crashed Earth right by him. So now Superman shows up, and he says, "Sorry, I'm late. I was out near Virga when I got here." "Great row. Is that Light Ray?" And they say they think he's dying, but they're like, "Who could kill a new god?" So Superman flies up, and he's going to go check and see what happened, who hit him, who attacked Light Ray. And Jimmy's there with him by himself, and he says, "I don't know what I could say to make a new god feel better, but hang on there, buddy. Superman's looking out for you, so you're in." And Light Ray says, "Infinite, infinite, infinite," and then he grabs him, and right when he grabs him, there's this explosion, as you can see. And then we go to the next page, and Superman's out in space, and he doesn't see anyone at first, and then way out he sees someone far away, and he tries to catch up to them, but they fly to a boom tube and disappear. So that would indicate that Darkseid is behind all this. So Superman's flying back to Earth, and he sees the explosion from Light Ray, and he says, "Jimmy, can you hear me? Are you alright?" And Jimmy says, "I'm fine, Superman. But Light Ray, I think Light Ray is dead. But how is that even possible?" And Superman says, "I don't know, Jimmy. What does it mean for the universe when a god dies?" So, and then it's to be continued, and we get another series of these pages, the history of the multiverse. A longer group of them this time. There are, looks like 3. And those are really interesting and tie back to previous comics and storylines, and help explain to newer readers what is going on in this event. So I thought that was really cool. And these are written by Dan Jurgens and drawn by Norm Ratmond. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe.
End of line.